Oh, BFS Live episode 87. I want to say this one's a long time coming. It's just kind of hard to say because we've only been doing this for 2 or 3 months. But Stevie is here. Stevie PALo, Stevie Xolo. He's sending the link to his dad right now.
Give me 1 second.
Wholesome, good family content here. For all you watching or listening, you can catch the Patreon link for BFS Live and Break Free Skatepark in the QR code in the intro video or in the the video description, whether you're in the podcast. Well, that would be show notes for podcasts or video description on YouTube. You can find links to Breaking Free Skatepark, our merch, which there isn't any in the store anyway, but the Patreon and all that stuff, it goes a long way to help us. This podcast is a lot of work to do it every single week, so even $5 a month goes a long way, especially in the summer months, which is the hard time for a skate park. But enough about me. We're here with Stevie, who's been around the skate park scene for a long time. A lot of you might know him from the Instagram. Will you do a trick to my song? And Stevie's been volunteering at the park and hanging out. We go back a long ways. So I wanted to start this with a question that we've talked about. I don't know if you remember me asking you this question. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but we're going to do it here live. Does art exist?
That's a fucking killer way to start this.
First sentence in swearing.
Does art exist? Well, art itself is subjective. So, like a painting is real. And is that a painting and not art? Like,
I'm asking, does art objectively exist?
Yes, absolutely. Which is completely different from my answer that I gave you the very first time you asked me. And I think about it constantly.
Really?
Yes. You say so much stuff that it drives me nuts.
So you're saying art objectively exists?
Is the intention that something was made with, does that exist in said thing?
I don't know what you're asking.
Okay.
Does intention exist?
Like, if a painting was made
Okay.
by this person thinking this thing,
Okay.
that painting is a representation of how they were feeling then.
Maybe. But once upon a time, the portraiture of painting was more a matter of preservation. They didn't have photography. It wasn't considered an art, but in hindsight, we look back and go, well, look at this art. And then eventually the same thing happened with photography, where it was more like a medium, just like a documentary photojournalism type thing, and then it became art. And now people can take a photo and they can print it out and they can say, hey, look at this photograph. Every time I do, it makes me laugh.
I mean, that is true, but people had to be like, some of the art from the good old ancient times, the hieroglyphics and whatnot, I think some of that was preservation. I'm not a historian. I don't know. But
You're talking about Egypt?
yes.
And you've never been?
No, I've never been. I almost went to go to the Travis Scott concert. Actually, well, almost is a bit of a stretch, but I looked at tickets, and then that got canceled. I wonder why. But I don't know. I feel like it's always existed. People just making stuff to make stuff. I feel this way. I'm going to do this. Like, yeah, paintings, most of the paintings that we know from history are portraits, but think about all the art we haven't seen. I know that's like a really
is what
cliche
you do art?
I think so. I feel like it is.
Am I an artist?
Absolutely. Without a question.
But I don't think art exists.
Why don't you think art exists, Dave?
I do, but not objectively. I don't know. It's a funny question. And for the listeners and the viewers, we're asking this because Stevie's, I guess, a musician. Would you call yourself a musician?
I guess a musician.
Are you a recording artist?
I say artist now more than musician.
Okay,
When I first started, I was so stoked. I was so egoed up. I was like, I'm a musician. Everyone asks, like, what do you play? And I'm like, oh.
Well, I'm a vocalist.
I use auto-tune, and I like to think I do it well. But
and that's why I ask you, because what you're doing is, in my opinion, it's hard to call it music. I know it sounds harsh, but like when I think music, you think of people and instruments creating sound together, right? What you do is electronic, right? It's not that this. I'm not trying to discredit it. You have your boy who makes your beats, right? And then you work together, and like obviously there's lyrics and the whole. I don't know anything about auto tune, and it comes together to make this audio experience, which to me seems more like art than music. Although music is art. So,
what is music?
Well, I just said what music is.
Yeah.
Music is at least music would involve one. This is I love this conversation. It's ridiculous. In my opinion, music involves at least one person making some sort of noise, and for it to be considered, in my opinion, art, there has to be some sort of expression involved.
Oh,
because if there's not in my opinion, like what makes the thing subjectively art is if you're trying to convey some sort of emotion. And if the viewer of the art, or viewer is not even the right word because it could be listener, if the person taking in the art can derive some emotion, not necessarily the same emotion you're conveying, then that emotional connection, that the fact that the person creating was emoting something and the person receiving it is then emoting something, that's what I think makes something art. Because there's a lot of music as entertainment, which isn't necessarily music as art and expression. So music,
like NPR.
No, music could be one person humming. Music probably started as a caveman just making grunts or something and discovering rhythm, timbre, melody. Melody probably came a lot later.
Yeah, melody was also always there at the same time.
Maybe, I don't know.
Well, like there's a key to the waterfall or like the way or whatever the thing is. Okay. You know what I mean? The drones in New Jersey. There's a key to those things. And I don't know. I think I don't need to get into the history of it necessarily because I know nothing. That's something I have to tell people.
Well, one of the beautiful things about art and music is like you don't have to know anything. It's almost better if you don't.
Yeah. So my friend that I started with, he knows music theory. He was classically trained. And maybe not constantly anymore, but I used to constantly have the feeling like, thank God I don't know anything. Because it would drive me nuts. Because I see him listen to stuff. He's like, oh, this is this. And I'm like, that sucks. It's cool that he can do that. And it's very useful as a skill to him, and for anyone he works with. But to be able to, or to not be able to turn that switch off. Like for a while, when I consume music, I would just be like, oh, this is this effect is that. Like, that's such a, I think some people can't turn it off, and it kind of happens whenever you're in a field. Like if you build skate parks and you go to another skate park, you're going to be like, damn, this is whatever your observation is, you're going to have a more in-depth and you're not going to be able to avoid thinking about said observation. But in music, it's nice to be able to just listen to it. And I think that you kind of lose a little bit of the wonder when you get too deep into caring so much about all of the other art that you yourself are into making.
When I was in bands growing up, and once upon a time I was in a pretty decent band, and we recorded in a legitimate recording studio, Surefire Studios, in Long Branch, New Jersey. This guy recorded Dire Straits' platinum album, so like pretty legit. And when we went through the process of recording music, it broke my heart. It absolutely, I was like, this is how it's done. It's like cold, calculated, we're going to plug you back in for that line, for that one word. It's like, it just really seemed to suck a lot of the emotion out of it. And it made me have a lot of respect for bands that let you know how they recorded it, right? One of my favorite bands, Converge, with the Jane Doe skull and the mini ramp. One of their albums, I forget how they phrased it. It's like a raw recording or something. Basically, they're just like, we put mics in front of the amps, and that was it. We didn't line in. We didn't do anything post. Like, this was just, we recorded. Like, obviously, they're gonna, do multiple takes and everything, but after the fact, no triggers in the drums. This is mic'd up, and this is it. This is how it was, and especially for the drummer, that's really, really hard. Especially when a band like Converge, which plays fast and hard, you'll hear, I don't know if you go to metal shows, but you know what a blast beat is?
No.
Blast beat is they're hitting snare, hi-hat, and bass all at the same time. So you're hitting everything. And typically it's that fast. So
I've seen that, and it's insane.
If you're hitting the snare that fast, you can't hit it hard, right? So if you're a drummer and you're playing the normal part, you could be wailing that snare. Bow, bow. And then you go to the blast beat, and it's like, and all of a sudden you have this volume difference. So you'll find, do you know what triggers are in drums? Okay.
You're stoked.
So basically a trigger in a drum kit, like in a studio, they'll trigger everything. And basically, instead of a mic picking up the sound of the snare, it makes a keyframe. So the drummer plays the song, and then you just get a track of keyframes.
Oh, so you MIDI.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Okay.
So there are live bands that use triggers on their drum sets. So whenever that bass drum hits, you're not getting a mic'd up bass drum hit. You're getting a sound through the PA system of the do. So whether he hits it hard or soft, you get the exact same sound. So some bands in that like metal range, they'll do that with the snare and the drums, so the volume is evened out, which makes up for the drummer hitting hard or soft in different parts versus using that strategically.
That's interesting.
When I recorded, we triggered the entire drum set. Like, we actually didn't use triggers. We went through and copy pasted in keyframes, and then like you took one nice snare of our hit, and then we took a sample of one and mixed it together to a sound we liked, and then just pasted it in, copy paste every keyframe became that sound. And I was like, that's not real though. That's not. I was like, how could you do this? Yeah. And my heart broke.
I assume you grew up like, did you play guitar as a kid, or like did you play any? So you probably grew up like, very basically put like guitar around the campfire type of vibe, like, and
I mean, it's the most honest way to do it, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely. And that's something, and you maybe not constantly, but consistently ask me like when are you going to learn how to do this, or like why do you do an acoustic? Like, what are you without your computer? Like, and you say it a little bit more Dave-esque than that, but it is true. And it's funny because I don't think about that very often at all, because I love what I do so much that like I think about it from time to time. Like, my girlfriend is classically trained and can sing like unbelievably, and it's crazy. And she's taught me a lot, but still, like, not all she's taught me. That's a crazy thing to say, but I've learned a lot stylistically, but the only really technical skill I've learned, the trained skill I've learned, is the breathing and sitting up straight or standing up properly and breathing with your belly and not your chest. And like, I
actually typically sing up here.
I think I always sing up here, unless it's like when I do that song that I know you were taking a video and I performed at a Wrench Fest where I was singing with the Australian accent. Pretty sure I sing with my chest on that one, but that's because my friend is just nuts. But I got a guitar from my homie for Christmas 2 years ago, and I know one riff.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And my girlfriend wants me to learn more riffs, and I want to learn more riffs. And I won't go into this for too long, but something that I learned when I learned that one riff, which is one of my own songs, of course, is how meditative it is to play an instrument. I've never really got something down other than Heart and Soul on a keyboard when I was very little and just played it. And because I have my computer and all those effects, I put my guitar through auto-tune and through flangers and through delays and different amps. And I have this vocal synth that has 1,000 or more presets in it. And some of them sound awful and some of them are so sick. And just to be able to because I'm so used to modulating is changing, right?
Sure.
All right. I'm so used to modulating my voice that I still like it, but I'm so used to it. So holding an instrument, even though I don't know how to play it well, and just hitting the string and then pressing one button on my laptop and having it be a completely different thing. To me, that's magic. And not in the same way as someone being just naturally talented, but in a way that allows me to experience the feeling of doing it. And I think that is what one of the greatest things of, the modern age of music and mixing and autotune and all that is. Because certainly is not this way for everybody, but there are melodies that I hear in my head and tones that I like that I can do, but for that to sound the way I see it in my head, or hear it, I guess, I have to use it. I have to do it with autotune. And of course I can't sing it that well, so that helps. But if The Weeknd sang this X song by me, it wouldn't be the same at all. The grit. So obviously there's incredibly talented singers with all different styles, but there's something to the flatness of some of these artists that the autotune, it almost gives the autotune more of an edge and more potency. And I think there's, I would say fine line, a very, very blurry line that is constantly moving on what is just someone, getting really messed up and slapping autotune on and going and punching in every line and doing that for 8 hours while being all screwed up on different substances and being I just made a 30-song album. And then the 14-year-old kids eat it up. And someone who is okay, I use this because this allows me to express myself in the way that I want to. And that's how I truly feel. Because I started off rapping, sample beats, listening to I still listen to a lot of Action Bronson, but him and Earl Sweatshirt, there was an era in the 2010s that still exists, but where dude, the old chops came back, and I loved listening to a record and picking something. It felt oh dude, it was magic. So I digress because that will lead into my entire story, and I'm trying not to do that anymore. But
I've often brought up this triangle when it comes to art. It's almost like the cheap, light, strong. They talk about with most products, bike products, with scooter products, cheap, light, strong. You pick two of them, it's kind of like that. It's not exactly like that, but it trends towards two. So when it comes to art, and then this applies to literally all forms of art. Here's your triangle. One piece is being technically proficient at whatever craft it is. And that piece is actually not that important because there's a lot of musicians that aren't actually technically that good. There's a lot of painters who aren't really that good.
It's where they get their swag from.
They just have a style, right? Another piece of it is, this is the true art part, is the creativity. Is this person truly creating something that's different and stands out and is unique? Which, again, that is the thing that's the most art about it. The third piece of the triangle is that person's ability to monetize that product, right? And what you find most often happens is the true artists who are creative, they tend to be chasing something they're never satisfied with because it's about the pursuit. It's about the journey, not the destination. So they tend to be bad at selling their art because they're not, this isn't quite it. I'm still working on it, right? And they might not be good at it, but they're making something unique. And what always happens, not always, but what often happens is you have these people who are utterly uncreative, but technically good at whatever it is. If it's, someone can go through your style of music, figure out technically how to make the beats, how to do the auto-tune, make something that sounds and fits the mold, and they could be really good at marketing and selling it. And those are the people who tend to make more money in most cases, except for, your standout, truly unique, one-of-a-kind artists. And like this really applies to graphic designers. Like most graphic designers out there are just utterly copying everything they've ever seen. And they can be just really good at using Illustrator and really good at marketing, and they're going to make a lot of money doing it. And that's music. You find a lot of people who are really okay with just singing in front of a crowd, and they suck at singing, And then you'll come across people who are very talented singers who are just like, nah, I don't want to. I'm not saying I'm good at singing, but like I hate singing in front of people. Karaoke is a different thing, but
dude, oh my God, that was so sick, dude. That's top 25 life experiences, dude.
Yeah, the karaoke party.
Karaokeing with you. I've never done it before. I sang one line at Lux
aren't all
once.
your songs technically karaoke?
Oh my God. All right. You know what's funny is this, I've done podcasts before, but nothing that I wish that people listened to my homie Caleb's podcast that I did with him. And I hope they did. But no one's ever really listened.
What's it called?
Caleb versus Self. I did an episode 3 years ago. It was awesome.
Caleb versus Self with
Yes.
Stevie Xolo.
Yeah,
Were
that
you
was my
Stevie
name
Xolo
back
at the
then.
time?
I don't know.
Okay.
We'll find out. But what are we yapping about?
The
karaoke
party.
Yeah. So for a while, I never did a podcast where I was like, people are really going to hear this. This is the first one where I'm like, people are going to see this, and this is going to exist, and there's video, which I've never done. And especially in hip-hop and the style of hip-hop I do, it's like everyone wants to be mysterious. And for years, I was like, I want to be mysterious. So when I started, and for a few years, I would drop something and then not post anything on Instagram forever. And I'm like, see, that tells them that I'm working. And like, it is so, like, it's so lame. Unless you really just hate being like outward like that, I just think it's so lame. And I did that for so long. And there's parts of me, even recently, that's like, I'm like not even gonna talk about auto-tune, or like I'm not gonna, and it's just like, dude, that sucks. Like I'm a very like open person about all of that stuff, and I think, I don't know, that's a very long lead into the karaoke thing. When I've done bigger shows, I can't really ever calculate, or haven't put in the work to calculate what lines I need cut. Because I punch in on stuff, there's certain lines that I need to leave in the song so that I can take a breath. Because I respect it, but I don't want a DJ yelling the last line of my song. That happens a lot at hip-hop concerts. I completely get it. It makes perfect sense unless you want someone else on stage with you, or to leave like the last of an 8-bar section there. But I need to calculate what to cut, and that can be a decent amount of work. And I've just started doing that because I don't like it when an artist doesn't ever sing what the recording is. And Ben said something about it, and my girlfriend's been saying something about it since I first performed. And I was like, dude, it went so well. Someone stage dive, dude, it's absolutely fine. But it's true. Like, you can do some things differently in a song, harmonize with yourself or whatever it may be. But to do the entire set harmonizing over yourself, not because that's really what you want to do, but because you didn't set it up so that you could sing the track properly. Because when you're singing over a track vocals, unless they're really turned down, it's hard to hear the live vocals over the track, or it's hard to like distinguish them. So I always just did like, oh, it's down here, I'll go up here. And I've done that since I started, and I'm just now starting to really try and hone in on that, because people aren't going to be going wild at my shows until they know the music, until I have like fans that came out because they listen to Stevie Xolo and they want to see him and not, friends of Stevie. So for now, I have to focus on giving the best sonic performance humanly possible to my capability. And once again, my girlfriend, Avery, really like helped me hone in on just that idea, because I can get pretty in my head like, nah, I'm good at this, I'm fine. And hanging around you, also hanging around her and hanging around you has taught me like, that's nonsense.
Yeah.
That's nonsense.
Are there any parts in your songs where there isn't vocal backtrack and it's just you?
Oh, I was talking about performing them.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
All right. Yeah. Oh, at the end, I like just like doing oohs and ahs at the end of tracks when there's no vocals and stuff. I love that stuff. I love putting delays on and just kind of creating like a moment with all that stuff. I did that a couple times at Wrench Fest.
Yeah, but I'm saying when you're, like if I were to listen to the backtrack to your songs when you're performing, are all the words in it already?
Yes. Which not every single song.
So it is like karaoke.
It is like karaoke, yes.
So are there songs where it's just the backtrack and you are
just the beat, and yes.
And then you're just adding in and there isn't vocals?
Yeah, there
on
isn't
the
pre-recorded
track.
vocals, yes. And my ideal thing is like leave the ad-libs, leave some harmonies, because I can't do all of it, one-man band type thing, because of timing. But yeah, and I want to do more of the actual song live, at least right now. Because if you're, jumping around like absolute, just like a madman and stuff, there's a point where you're gonna not be able to finish all the lines, or because of how at least me, like I've seen other people do it, because of how out of breath someone is, they can not do the low register because they've screamed so much. And that's happened to me before too, because I sing an octave higher usually when I'm performing, because I'm on top of my pre-recorded vocals. So I'm in the high register, and then if I try to do a song with no backtrack and I recorded it low, I can't do it the same as I did in the studio, because my voice has been up here for 10 minutes or 15 minutes and I'm screaming or whatever, and I've lost my capability to do my low register with any level of control.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's me on performing and what I'm not satisfied with.
All right, and then you told me you used to do like normal rapping. Yeah. I know at one point you were rapping under a different name.
Yes, a couple different names.
Why the changes in styles and the changes in names? And is this just a journey and that will continue to happen, or have you landed where you want to be?
Certainly not at my final destination creatively or anything like that, but Stevie Xolo is it. Because that was my first artist name when I first put music out on all platforms. And then I changed it a couple times. So I was like, oh, I'm going to be this guy. And I think that's just part of being like 19 and 20. Like, we were talking about concept albums earlier, and I got like so lost in like, I'm an artist, that I changed my name like 4 times. And it's always been Stevie Xolo, man, like to me. And yeah, I feel like I've landed there. And if I'm happy with it. I was never really happy with my artist name until I finally, like I was happy with Stevie Xolo, but I was 18 and then I wasn't. And then I did it with the X and I was like, this is it. And I haven't even had real thoughts.
And how long have you been making music?
I've been recording music for a little over 6 years. Actually, it's been 6.5 years. And I've been writing since I was like 11, but just a little bit. Because, I heard this, I'm going to write this, but I never followed through. Like, I never wrote a whole song until I was 16 or 17. And that was when the dream started to exist. And man, that was so cool. Like, especially having the access to the computer at that age and just messing around, because it was just fun. Like, when I did the first song I recorded, oh my God. My friend in school wanted to do a remix to a Schoolboy Q and Kendrick Lamar song. And it was going to be a joke. He was going to call himself Young Sweat Stain. His girlfriend at the time got him a hat that said that. It was hilarious. And he just never did it. But he bought all the equipment. We had our friend. I'd never met this guy. His name was Elmas. And there was another kid in the mix that I was friends with. And I told him, I was like, tell Elmas to just come to my house and I'll do it. Because Elmas had written the whole song with the exact cadence that Kendrick Lamar has and rhyme scheme, but different bars. And I recorded that, and I had never touched a real microphone. I did one trivia question once at whatever that cafe is that does that stuff at RIT. And I was sold immediately. Like, he had FL Studio, Fruity Loops, and he used the pitcher. We didn't have autotune or anything, and I rapped the song, and just immediately, being on the microphone and not hating myself for it, I'm really lucky that happened that young and that early on too, because so many people still that are so good hate their art, and that sucks. It's cool, it's romanticized, I get it, but it's sick to feel good about what you do. And I did that song, and I was just like, dude, I'm sold. I'm gonna be a rapper. Oh my God. And it was so funny. And it's still out there somewhere in one of my old emails. And it was so bad and so corny. And the bars are so ridiculous. And my voice is so funny. And oh man, it was such a good time. And then, that was the real start of it. And then I hooked up with Anthony, my DJ, back in 2018. He came back from sound engineering school in Berlin. And then that's when it really started. Instead of buying my first car, rewind. He came back from Berlin, got a house, an apartment house off East Ave with his friend that he met out there. And his friend had a decent amount of money. And they had this sick 2 out of 3 stories on one of the houses on right by East and Alexander. And it was nuts. It was nuts. And I messed around a little bit in the studio that summer of 2018. And that's when my dad was sick. And then the first full recording I did properly, that was right around that time. And then Dewan, which was Anthony's roommate, had to move back home to Atlanta, urgently. So Ant was just left alone in that house for a month. And I had, at the time, which was the most money I'd ever had, which was $700. And I was gonna buy my own car. And Dewan moved, and he took his microphone. And I had recorded one song with Anthony that summer, and I was like, we'll get the SM7B. And I did that. And that was, that really started it off. I worked with him and a couple other people pretty closely for a couple of years. Not even, because COVID halted everything. But that was October 2018. And then, man, that was the start of it. And then COVID teaching me how to record by myself. I got my home. Shout out to my homie Austin for selling me his laptop, which I got the money for on my birthday. And recording myself was just that was everything. And that's when I really started to figure out like who I was, and it's still happening. But like, to go back to what you said several minutes ago, now I'm making the stuff that I wanted to hear when I was 16. Like, I am doing that. Like, what, like, and it's not just like me, like, oh, I want to do that. It's like, no, I want to listen to that shit. So, stuff.
It's kind of similar to me saying how I run the events at the skate park or elsewhere that I wish other people did. I want, this would be cool. All right, so let's make it happen.
Yeah, and that's like a crazy, parallel might be the wrong phrase, but that's the sickest thing ever. Like, but what you're doing is actively affecting like a ton of people, and it's tangible. Like, you can feel it, you can see it. Like, you can see when an 11-year-old kid lands his first tail whip on a scooter and like walks out the door like, mom, like, oh my dude, it's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And like, oh man, that shit is so sick. So what I'm doing is very like long-term hustle. Like, nah, like I essentially have to be almost in a state of psychosis until I finally make enough money or make any money. It's like, see, dude, I told you. But yeah, it is very like, it's a brutal journey that you've taken. And, but it's so sick. Cause like, what's better than hanging, like Nate pulling up, that stuff like that, man. Like, hanging out at the house is cool, but hanging out at the skate park, like,
we'll talk more about the skate park.
Okay.
And you right. Coming back to the skate park in the second half. I still want to keep talking about your music career, if that's the word you want to use for it.
Absolutely.
I used Fruity Loops. Well, actually, I never used Fruity Loops. I was in a cyber grindcore band.
What the heck?
You know what grindcore is?
Does it have anything to do with skate park guys?
No, grindcore is like...
I know about grindercore.
Imagine like hardcore, but really grindy, really. It's just like a lot of blast beats, a lot of like really harsh sounds. It's like...
It's almost like industrial-esque.
Yeah, it's lo-fi, typically. Blast beats, rough. So cyber grind. So basically my buddy Tom, we wanted to make this grindcore band. And so we couldn't find a whole band. So he got Fruity Loops, and he would make the songs on Fruity Loops. So he'd use it as a drum machine and add like he would just like open things and press buttons and be like this, just like crazy sounds. He would add movie quotes, and then the guitar would just be like fast and aggressive, and it'd have hardcore breakdowns. And the band was called Jesus Get Your Gun, and it was ridiculous. So I have some experience with Fruity Loops, and the other thing I was going to add is I was in a band when I was 14, and I might have been 14 or 15 when I played my first concert and was writing songs, and they're god awful. And as I said on last week's podcast, my camera's glitching out right here. What the heck's going on? Huh? Weird. I don't know if that's on me or on the other end. Weird. If you're in the chat, tell me if my screen's glitching out on the YouTube. Sure looks like it is here.
It was happening a couple podcasts. It was happening a lot in the Gooch podcast.
Yeah, that one. Oh, I was dropping frames in that podcast. That was before I got the new router. Higher upload speeds, I guess. I was 14 or 15, writing songs, playing concerts, and I'm glad there aren't recordings because I have one recording still, and it's really not good.
Because the memory of the stuff is often cooler than the actual stuff. You said that with Tom, which is a very good way to put it.
Oh, that was really ridiculous. I reset the wrong camera. Oh. Sorry, guys, in the chat. I reset the wrong camera. We're just trying to see if we can get this connection better.
I really want to do the voice, but I don't want to do the voice, dude.
It's all good.
I'm not going to do the voice.
What was the first song you ever wrote?
The first song I ever wrote, I don't know. It's between two.
No. All right.
Hang on.
I mean, like the first song
I was 17.
you recorded, like not the first song you wrote, like the first one, like you got it on, you recorded, and there it is. There, it's done. Here's the product.
I guess the one I was talking about earlier, but with art and with anything, it's like at the time,
Yeah.
you know? But technically that was the first thing. Like I listened to that a lot and I was so stoked. It was so bad. But just the fact that it was me.
Yeah, it has to be bad. You know, it has to be bad. If you ever want to be good, you have to be bad.
And oh my God, it was so fun. Like, cause just all the, like, I still have the wonder. Like, I'm not just nostalgia braining, like, oh, the wonder. Like, I miss it. But the rawness of it was crazy. Like, cause my close friends treated me pretty poorly. Like once I got out of the skate park. And I think that's maybe, it's not like poorly, like in a truly awful way, but like I was an easy target and I didn't know.
Big one too.
Oh God damn, dude. I was an easy target size-wise and socially, and I didn't know how to be funny without being dumb. And that can really screw you up, and your whole social, like, status is a strong word, but just even with your close friends, you know? Like, if you're easy to make fun of and then you can't, like, swing back, you either need different friends or you need to learn that skill. Because it's
you sound like an 11-year-old I know.
But so they, like, and this is not shade to my friends when I was 16, but because it was funny, like Stevie Wants to Be a Rapper, that was like almost objectively funny because I'm just this fat kid who wears gym shorts and ugly tie-dye shirts that didn't look good on me. Shout out to John from Hawaii, which is where I got my tie-dye shirts from. And it was really funny. And I like had like my best friend at the time tell me, like, you can't make music. Like, no one would take you seriously. Like, I'm paraphrasing, but just like really like diminishing what I wanted to do.
Do you see the clip I posted from Lorenzo 2 weeks ago?
The punk thing?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, like to be like, I'm gonna make the kind of music I want to make, and I'm gonna about the topics I want to auto-tune sing about or whatever, or rap about, and look, and I'm gonna do what I want. Like, that's punk rock. That's like, the sad thing is most punk rock isn't punk rock because most people are trying so hard. The people who are trying to be punk are trying so hard to be punk that it's not remotely punk anymore. Yeah. If people are criticizing you for not doing something a certain way or looking a certain way while doing it, that just means you're taking a unique path and you're probably on the right path. Assuming you can endure that criticism.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, it was really interesting because I wasn't necessarily, and I promise this is true because I feel like people get caught up in needing to feel a certain way, like how everybody does. Like when, your friends tell you can't do this, like, I have to prove you wrong. Like, that existed in me, but that was not my drive. Like, I wanted to do something awesome because my teachers always told me I was going to be great. And because I wasn't great at their class. But yeah, like I've always got along with most people, and I love what really got me like hooked on making music was concerts. And I had never been to a legitimate, like a show until I was 16. And I went to see a rap group that's like conscious without being cringy, called Flatbush Zombies, in Huntington, New York in December 2016. And that was the craziest experience. Still one of the craziest experiences I've ever had in my life. And I don't know if that can be topped because I loved them. I knew all the words and I'd never seen crowd control. I did not know what a mosh pit was until I was at the edge of one.
There's mosh pits at hip hop shows.
I love the disconnect. I love how little you know about right now in certain parts of the
mosh pits. That's weird.
Oh, dude, you haven't a clue that. So it's not mosh pit in the metal way where there's guys kind of flailing around,
Well, I'm well aware there's multiple versions of mosh pits in different genres of music.
So, yeah,
is there particular genres or subgenres of hip hop in which there would be a mosh pit?
Absolutely. Really anything, I was going to say anything that goes hard, but stuff that is high energy.
How do you define what type of hip hop goes hard?
That's up to you. That's subjective. But no, stuff that is high energy. And it can even be there's mosh pits to low BPM metal, right? Or not really. I don't know. I haven't been to many metal shows, if any.
Well, at a hardcore show, the slower the breakdown is, typically the more brutal it is, but that's relative. The breakdown's only as heavy as the build up to it, so there's a relationship.
The BPMs change constantly in that kind of music, where hip hop is pretty often just one. Is that true?
Yeah, typically.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's more technical, proficient metal bands the drummer actually plays with a click track in his ear.
Yep. Much I did know.
So they'll have the time. It'll slow down, but it still stays in timing, typically. But most hardcore bands are pretty simple, and they're not playing with a click track. It's when you get to more progressive metal or technical metal or tech death or something where you get to that kind of stuff.
Okay. So in hip hop, like I said, anything with high energy can incite a mosh pit. And what's interesting about hip hop, and I heard someone say this there's a music teacher who's an older guy from Rochester who made a YouTube video about the Playboi Carti show that he attended in 2021 at the Armory. And now Playboi Carti is one of the biggest artists on the planet. He's huge.
Never heard of her.
I don't want to talk about him or his music. That has nothing to do with what we're doing here right now. Cardi B.
What is that?
Oh, dude. She's sick. Come on, man. Ride that dick like a BMX. That shit's hard as hell.
Is that in one
it's
of her
a real
songs?
line, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Sick, dude. Anyway.
Is it about pegging?
Oh, all right. So
she said BMX.
Yep. No, shout out to, I'm saying this like I know him. Shout out to the rapper Lil Yachty saying she blow that dick like a cello, and then in his interview about the lyrics, he's like, no one told me. It's like, you know how many people?
That's funny.
You know how many people listened to that song before it came out? Someone could have told me. I love that.
That's
anyway.
Funny. You said it, and it didn't even click in my head. And
yeah.
There's a cello in my house.
Yeah, Anyway, you really threw me off with the Cardi B thing. So this older guy who's a music teacher, I think at a college, attended the Playboi Carti concert, and he called it anti-music, which is a whole other thing for another time. But he talked about how my generation and just the younger generations are so antisocial and, awkward and whatever. But when you put them in this scenario, and all a DJ has to do is press play on a song that the kids know and love, and we transform into this chaotic communal sea of people. It's nuts because so many of these kids are awkward in real life, but dude, when they open up the pits, the kids do this and they kind of lean on each other, and then it's just at a hardcore show.
What's a pit look like at a hip hop show? What's the movement, the motion? Like,
So-
give me the rundown.
Oh man, I love this. So someone or a group of people will open it up, and obviously the pit
Just by
opens.
pushing people out of the way.
Just will kind of like someone will say open it up, and depending on where you are in the crowd, obviously, and the people that are around, people either will or won't. And so obviously the stuff, like the chaos ensues with the drop. So there's like a big bridge that everybody knows, or when a song starts, you know, the kids will say open it up, and it'll open, and then people will, like, if there's lines before the drop, there'll be a couple stragglers or maybe one person in the center of the pit and just kind of like singing the song or like move dancing, whatever. And then when the drop comes, like whether people signal to those on the outside to come in or not, if it's like truly a lit show, it just goes from the mosh pit to just everyone jumps in like a sea. It's nuts.
So people are jumping.
Yes, after the drop, and it's just
Is there pushing, or is it
there's
jumping and bouncing off people around?
friendly pushing until the drop, or no, I'm sorry. Yes, there is pushing,
Okay.
but I don't know why I'm remembering it wrong. I've been in plenty of them, but I don't last very long. Not these days. I got to get back on the Dave diet.
So it's more like jumping and dancing.
Yeah, but there is pushing. Like, I got knocked over at a concert in February. First time I've ever fallen in a mosh pit. And that was scary for a second, because the last big concert I was at was the one where people died. So, and
at the Armory.
no, in Houston, Texas, Travis Scott in 2021.
What was that?
That was when 10 people died in Houston. It was crazy.
How'd they die? Was that the guy, the shooter? That was Las Vegas.
No. No, dude, I'm going to make a song with him one day. No, it was a crowd surge. 10 people died. Like,
In a crowd surge.
yes. So the kids jumped the fence early in the day. They should have shut the show down right then and there, because there's people in there and they don't know what they have on them. That, period. That's my opinion, because you have hundreds or thousands of kids with unchecked bags in a tens of thousands of That's just insane. You know?
That's almost like not protecting your southern border.
Oh no, Dave! I'm so nervous for the question you're going to hit me with later.
They're eating the dogs.
They are. No, they're not. I know nothing about politics. Now, all I know about politics is what I get on Twitter. Well, X, and from Dave.
So, hip hop pit, people are jumping around and a little bit of pushing. Now, you fell on the ground. What happened when you fell on the ground?
Someone picked me up right away,
Wow.
which was sick.
That's good. Yeah.
But you need a belt or tight pants if you're going to jump around in a crowd. I didn't know that. I thought I have the joggers with the jean joggers with the.
Okay.
This is so stupid. This is pointless to talk about.
It is.
I need
I'm
a
wondering
belt.
why you're going there.
Anyway.
Why don't you show everyone your pants you're talking about?
No, dude.
All right. Well, that's pretty interesting. The term mosh pit is kind of loose.
Absolutely.
And even in different versions of hardcore, there are different types of pits. Even hardcore bands that you think would have your flaily armpit, if the band is old enough, you will not get a flaily mosh pit. You get more of a pushy mosh pit.
Yeah.
If you go back, certain generations were more about crowd diving than this type of hardcore mosh pit. But, you know.
Hardcore rap is flaily, just like metal, except faster.
So in hardcore rap, they have mosh pits like in hardcore music?
Yes, I got whacked in the head once, and I was like, this sucks.
So these are like,
Obviously.
if I close my eyes and picture like people at hip hop shows, what you think I'm accurately picturing the people I think go to hip hop shows?
I mean,
And those people are in a pit doing like what you would do at like a hardcore show.
at hardcore hip hop shows, yes. So like you're talking like there's a bracket that I can't properly define to you because you're not going to know any of the artists, and I barely know them. But there's a style of hip hop where the crowd is much more hardcore than you know, generic stuff or experimental, whatever. But yeah, I've seen a couple shows that essentially were higher BPM hardcore show mosh pits. That was really the only like observable difference.
Okay. Well, that's pretty interesting. I would imagine people get rowdy at hip hop shows, but I didn't think about like you would use the terminology of a mosh pit. But I guess that makes sense.
Dude, there was one show I went to. It was Travis Scott in Buffalo.
Isn't that a country guy?
No. Although I saw him in Pittsburgh years before.
Who the hell is Travis Scott? He sounds like he does motocross.
He is a rapper. He's like the guy that's known for autotune. So, but he's a rapper who worked with Kanye back in the glory days.
You mean Ye?
And I'm sorry, you're
You mean
right. I'm
Yeezy?
sorry, Ye. Yes, Ye. And he blew up through. I mean, like he got pretty connected pretty early on. But anyway, he's massive. He has songs that I'm confident you've heard because I've heard them playing in your skate park years ago.
I don't mean
That doesn't mean you know it, but I'm just saying you've heard it. But he's a giant in that. And there was one show in Buffalo where I went to with one of my best friends, Marco, and I commanded the pits for like the whole show, and I was 19. That was one of the most fun nights I've ever had because it's just like everybody's losing their minds, and I love that. And like everyone lets go because if the show's that crazy, if you're not the one moving, you're the oddball out. So for once, everybody that's tense, especially my generation, it's like, oh, you're dancing? Like,
well, there's a good concerts always have a self-sorting, but basically how, for the most part, the more passionate you are, the closer you're going to get. And then if you're super into it, you're either going to be in that pit section or right at the front line.
Yeah.
So you're going to be self-selected for the people who are most excited to be there, who are most likely to know all the words, who are most likely to get rowdy.
Yeah.
And that exists in every genre, in every style, whether there's 7 people to show or 700 or 7,000. It's going to be the same kind of thing.
Yeah. That is awesome. I love it. I love good live music. That got me into because I wanted
You
to
should
do
come
that.
to Carol's with me on a Monday night when they have the
And
Celtic.
see, I heard you talking about that. I want to check that out.
They told me on Thursdays they have people playing music, just normal everyday music. But
Really?
hey, open mic this Friday at the skate park, or next Friday. Not this Friday is the ribbon cutting on the mini ramp. Next Friday is the open.
Be
mic.
there.
Yeah.
I might be.
Yeah, you might be. Okay.
I think I'll be there later. I'm not positive, but
Is there anything you'd like to add about your music
man,
career? This is your chance.
I'm really.
Upwards of 120 people might listen to this.
There'll be a lot more one day with the way that you're working right now. I don't need to.
The podcasts generally get about between 150 and 225 views on YouTube, and I'm not checking the other platforms, and I'm not looking at how long people are listening for, and that doesn't count the live viewers. This is just after it's uploaded. So, I mean, for 2-hour podcasts, I'm okay with that time.
No, that's
That
pretty
engagement.
good. And people there's people out there that will watch the whole thing, and that's crazy to me.
Yeah, Blaze is in the chat. Justin's in the chat. Austin's in the chat. Utopia FGC is in the chat. I don't know who that is, but he said he knows you. And someone else is in the chat, and they said they had to go, and they said say goodbye, but I ignored it and didn't tell you because I'm a
Did
bad
it say
friend.
BXNGUS?
Yeah.
That's my Australian homie.
Crikey!
Yes, exactly. He does. Oh, let me. Is there anything left that I want to add?
What's your buddy's name?
His name is Bongus.
Bongus.
Yes, I call him Bongi.
Bongi.
Yeah. People call his mom.
Down under.
People call his mom and girlfriend both Mrs. Bongus, and I find that hysterical.
Okay.
I guess I'll say this and then I'll say the thing. Oh, I have a project with him coming out this summer.
Wow.
And our first single is going to come out in the next month or so. He is one of the illest people I've ever met in my life. Illest.
Illest.
Yes, I said that.
Is this
sick.
Oh, okay. Illest means sick. So
Yes.
he's both ill and sick. Is it
Yes.
COVID?
It's gout.
Gout?
I'm sorry, dude. I'm kidding.
Nate has gout.
Really? Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yicked out from uric acid.
Oof.
Not myic acid, just uric acid.
Uric acid.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, Bongi is one of the coolest people I've ever met in my life. Like, I would like to make it there this year, and if not this year, then 100%
And he
next
makes
year.
your beats or just
No,
records you?
we record together. Like, he's a recording artist, and he is also a producer, but mostly we've done tracks together on beats that we found online that we license. But we have a project coming out, and a few of my best songs I've ever made in my entire life are with him since January, which is crazy. Like, that's such a short time.
If someone's listening to the podcast and they want to know what the hell we're talking about, if they're going to go to YouTube or Spotify or whatever, what song should they listen to? They're going to search Stevie Xolo with an X.
Thank you.
And then what song?
This Way.
This Way.
100%. Yeah, because This Way is like, that's my second last song. That was the first Will You Do a Trick to My Song song. And I've never really gotten to talk about like what a song is about, but This Way is like a play on like so many hip hop songs being so just samey. Like, oh wow, you have this, like I have, whatever. So instead of talking, like I did talk a little bit about things I have, but I talked about traveling, whatever. But then I said, like, I'm trying to buy another car. I know I can't afford, get another credit card and build my debt some more, which is completely accurate. I was talking about buying a new car with Blaze and you. I don't know if you were there today, and I have debt to pay off. So, but it's delivered in a way of like, yo, I'm this, like, and that's just so, and it's natural, and I do it. But it was in a very like, I don't know, it was in a pretty like braggadocious way that I'd like to think I don't typically do. And then the second half is just some like experimental vocal synthed out, like ethereal, like ear candy stuff. So I feel like it was cool because I did like a generic song on purpose, but I did it to the best of my ability. And then I did something that feels really, really, really meaningful in the second half. So I think that's one of the best representations of what I do in under 3 minutes.
All right, so look it up. My Way, Stevie
This
Xolo.
Way.
This Way.
This Way by Stevie Xolo
Way.
with an X.
Safe Way.
Safeway. Auto Parts? New Way? They're good.
All right. Well, that's cool.
Yeah,
Well,
and
we've reached our halfway point here. We've done an
Okay.
hour already. Can you believe this has been an hour?
I can. I talk a lot. I think
Yeah.
I'm doing good, not going too far, but
Yeah.
halfway point. Have I reached the question?
I don't have a question lined up. This is the third podcast in a row I haven't had time to prepare for, so I don't really have anything lined up. I could like cue some like hyper specific thing about the bombing of the Houthis in Yemen or whatever.
Oh,
but,
no.
it was just so oddly specific. There's nowhere to go. Before the second half, I want to talk about you coming back to the skate park, and you alluded earlier that you wanted to talk about. I don't know. I don't know if you directly said you wanted to ask me questions, but you definitely said there was like something you want to talk about. But before we get there, I wanted to just ask you, what's like your favorite song? What's like the best song, favorite song? I don't know if those are the same things or different things, but like, is there or even most impactful song? 'Cause like, I love music, and if you ask me what's like the best song, my favorite song, and the most impactful song of my life, those are three different answers. But like, give me like, I asked whether it's one of those three things, there's probably one that in your head you're like, oh man, when I first heard this, or I was obsessed with this for X. Like, give me some of that. Paint me a picture. Paint me like one of your French girls. Stevie.
Your favorite rap song by Flatbush Zombies. It's like a 7-minute song, and there's verses that are like 2.5 minutes long on it. And
I thought you were asking me, like, you actually said like my favorite song, and
it's called
like,
your favorite rap song.
I was like, how could I have that favorite song if I never heard of them?
It's the outro to the Flatbush Zombies debut album, and my favorite. So there's 3 of them in the group, and yes, please, one day, dude,
Element sponsor us.
I will be important enough. I swear to, I just want an Element sponsor.
Once we get Milwaukee, we're lining up Element.
Yeah, dude. If the
Element sponsorship is probably easier, frankly.
Element's so sick. Sponsors Rick Rubin's podcast. Anyway, yeah, it's called Your Favorite Rap Song by the Flatbush Zombies. And that group, there's 3 of them. There's Eric, who's the producer, and he raps, and he's really good. And then there's a rapper named Juice, and there's a rapper named Meech. And they're all very unique, but that dude Meech has I have Eric's handwriting tattooed on me. I met them in 2018. That was my first ever tattoo.
Jack Seeley's in the chat. He said, "I love Flatbush Zombies."
No way, dude. That's
I
so
bumped
sick.
that song back in 2020.
No way. Yeah, I listened to that. This is my one hipster moment of the podcast. I listened to that the day it came out, dude.
Wow.
And I liked their music before, but that album, I listened to it, and I wasn't entirely sold the first time. It was like late, and I had school the next day. But there was a moment in the final verse by Meech where he just like talks. Like, he just says some really crazy stuff. And, you know, when you connect with, whether it's a show or a book or any art form or just anything in life, and you're like, you feel like it was made for you in that moment, or, oh, I never thought anyone would do this like this, because it just connects with you on such a specific level.
Visceral level.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Visceral. Thank you, Dave. And that stuck with me. And I remember that I was walking by the nurse's office at Eastridge when I heard the one part of that verse. And I was like, this guy's my favorite rapper ever, as of right now. And that still stands. And that was almost 9 years ago. But
Wow.
yeah, that song, their music really inspired me to do exactly what I want, because I do one shot, and to listen to your friends or whoever telling you, oh, do this, do like it. And it's harder when you're 16 or 17 years old, but
You
they
don't know anything.
Yeah, they've been a consistent. It's just that their music, that song, Your Favorite Rap Song by Flatbush Zombies. That, and I think there's even some writing by those guys that even if you don't like the style of music, which I don't know if you will, I'm not saying you won't, but you would appreciate the writing.
Send me a link to it later. I'll listen to it tomorrow.
Absolutely.
So for me,
Yeah, what's yours?
context really matters. And yeah, one of my favorite bands is this band called Saves the Day. They're like a emo band, pop punk. They're like somewhere in between there, but they're like an early emo band from the late 90s, early 2000s. And they had a little bit of commercial success, and as soon as they had it, they lost it. Really. And things, they like just never, like I said, there was some commercial success, and then it just kind of evaporated. And they ended up making this 3-album trilogy that took years to come out. And there's a short documentary about it where he talks about how, they were basically kids, and they all of a sudden they're getting flown on private jets. They're playing Conan O'Brien. Oh my God, like this is amazing. They sign a record deal. They write a new record. The second the record comes out, the guy from the record company is like, hey, this didn't really do as good, so we better start writing another one. And he's like, what do you mean? We just put all this time in, and like it's like broke his heart, because this guy's an artist, tortured artist. He's definitely got there's some stuff going on there. But the trilogy is about depression, and the 3 albums are Sound the Alarm, Under the Boards, and Daybreak, and they're red, blue, and white. Sound the Alarm is about the crashing down panic phase when you're first falling into depression. The middle album, Under the Boards, is kind of like the rock bottom, Under the Boards, frankly. There's a couple songs on Under the Boards which are absolutely phenomenal. And then Daybreak was released on a double album, so the whole album acoustic and the whole album electric. And the album Daybreak starts with the title track, Daybreak, which is my answer to the song Daybreak. It's 10 minutes long. And this 10-minute song is almost like 4 songs in one. And there's a short documentary about Daybreak also called Daybreak, where he's like talking about how these record people are like, wait, what? The first song's 10 minutes? So they ended up just like self-producing it in the end. And
That's awesome.
And I know this whole band's discography in and out, and this short 10-minute documentary really like paints a nice picture of it. And I was obsessed with this album when I was in, to throw back to last week's podcast, talking about when I was in my darkest, most depressed days. I was like binge listening to these albums about it because it was like, oh, this is it, right? Like this person gets it. Like these songs get it, you know? And a lot of the music almost plays out in my head like a movie, like because he talks about a lot of the same stuff in these songs. And there's this amazing thing he does on Daybreak. And then there was another album after that. And then their newest album, which is still a couple years old now, almost like comes back to the trilogy. It's almost like a end cap.
Oh, it's so cool.
But
I love that.
Both on, that's the album's called 9 because it's their 9th album. So both on 9 and Daybreak, he does this really cool thing where he takes the titles of songs in previous albums and works them into the lyrics on
cool.
other songs. So like there's all these like throwback, like these little like Easter eggs to other things. And like he talks multiple songs throughout the trilogy where he talks about when he meets his wife. And like if you listen to all of it, you can start to piece together the different pieces. And I don't know if this was intentional, but for me,
No, that's so cool.
it is really it's great.
You're a fantastic listener. So your like experience listening to music has to be like, I mean, you catch all that stuff. Like that is who musicians are dreaming
Yeah.
to find their stuff, dude. Because I feel that way about certain things. I don't catch it like you do. But yeah, that's the best. When you connect with something that deeply and you notice it and you're like, yo, like they were thinking, like, just the excitement about that is so good.
You
It's
don't
so
really
good.
take me as a depressed kind of person, but you told me earlier you've dealt with some stuff. There's a song in that trilogy called Woe. WOE.
That was me for 3. Oh,
Not
never mind.
WOH. And this song is, in my opinion, the perfect sonic expression of what it is like to have that emotional break where you're like crying on the floor. And like when you cry hard enough, you get this pounding headache.
Oh God, yeah.
You know, like
It's horrible.
Yeah,
It's horrible.
And so like the song, it's like the bass is like it has this like swirling feel to it, and there's a lot of crash cymbals. So it's like, so you have this like, and it's just like, it. I swear, like it's just like, maybe it's because I was on the floor in my apartment crying, listening to it, you know, that it does that. But and the song before it, Kaleidoscope, it sets up that kind of swirlingness and it gets into that, and it's just so good. And then it fades into the last song, which is Under the Boards, and the swirling sound of that song like fades away as if you like cried yourself to sleep, and then the next song kind of like fades in, and he's like under the boards. And what's really cool is at the end of the album, there's like this sound of like guitar being played. It's like if you record a guitar and then played it backwards, it has this kind of sound.
Yeah.
It has that as it fades into the dark, into like the end of the album. And then the next album starts with the same sound like fading back in, but these end up being like 4 years apart. So it's really good. I have them all on vinyl.
I dream about doing things like that. Like my only EP that's out is a concept project. It's like end of the world type stuff. I love, like, these days when I'm making something, I probably 60+% of the time see like a movie for it, or just I think of a movie I already like. And although like I'm not like, I haven't hit my deepest writing yet, sonically I'm really trying to not prove, but capture something and deliver something that is strong. And that's the thing I'm most proud of in my music, is like, I feel like it is strong. Everything from the last 2 years that's come out, I'm really, really, really proud of. And like, I'm like, yo, yeah, I'm working on the sync licensing stuff, as I've told you about, and getting stuff in movies, TV, etc. And I play a song, I'm like, yo, would this be good in an action movie for someone? They're like, yo, that's what it was made for. And like, I was and wasn't doing that. So like to get good at that is so sick. Because when I was a little kid, I'm getting all this out because I have to before we talk about BMX. When I was a little kid, I would sit with my head on the window on my way to school in the bus, and just, before it was like movie type stuff, it was just, I'm going to California with my bike and I'm going to ride all those concrete skate parks that bikes aren't allowed at. And I would just daydream of like bike trips and like all types of stuff. And then as I got a little older, that developed into like movies and, you know, just crazy, mostly action stuff, and pretty much exclusively action stuff, but just like big epic things. And then, you know, the media that I consumed as a early teenager really affected. Like, there's a very specific vibe that I like when it comes to fiction, and I think I'm conveying that now in my music. And I don't really know if that happened on purpose, and that's something that I'm like aggressively stoked on, because I'm not there, but I'm finally there to me, where like I don't know if I've said this to you, but I feel like there's, you know, you need to be, we were talking about our first stuff being terrible as musician artists. We were talking about that, and it's, you have to be that. If you're classically trained, that's different, but still your writing might be bad, your whatever might be bad, but you have to be delusional to get good. It's just like skating or biking. Like, you can't pedal. Like, I can go backwards real good, dude. I couldn't pedal 19 years ago. That's crazy. So with music, it's the same thing. And I feel like there's a point where some people, I like to say, the artist has become self-aware, where you finally catch up to a degree with your dreams, your skill level, or your ability and your dreams. And I feel like I am just about there for like the first time ever, and that is like so cool. And like every time, like right now, I'm like, dude, I'm never gonna make a song that sick again. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. And then it happens, and I'm like, I don't know who I thank, but I say thank you, and I just keep hoping it happens again, because you are developing a skill. But it doesn't, because I'm writing, and a lot of the times I freestyle like flows and melodies and then write to it. So I'm a relatively spiritual person, but not extra. It's the one thing in my life that really does feel like I don't know where this comes from, but I've proven that it is a skill to a degree, because all this time I've gotten better at it. I just think it's funny because I'm Stevie. Like, I've always been this goofy goober fat kid who was bad at biking, and like now this, other than yapping, this is the thing I'm good at. Really, really, like, I'm so happy about that. It's so sick.
I didn't realize you were so self-aware.
Thank you.
Is that a thank you?
Yes, it is a
Okay,
thank you.
cool.
Well, I come in here saying the things that I say.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, look at this big, friendly idiot. But like, I have thoughts.
Yeah, well, when I moved here, you were here at RASP all the time, and I can't recall it, when you stopped coming or started to digress, but you mentioned
2016.
in 2016 you were playing music. RASP closed in August of 2016. I opened in December of 2016. And you had maybe been here a few times up until fairly recently, and then fairly recently you just decided you're going to be here all the time, which is great because you helped me out.
I will be more productive, Dave. I cleaned 3 countertops today.
Well, okay, the comment about the productivity wasn't about you not being productive.
No, I know, but I need to be productive because I decrease productivity. I don't want to stop you from your point.
You come in because you're good shit, dude. You come in and
thank you.
You bring in such enthusiasm and dare I say charisma, and then we're just talking about this, we're talking about that, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I haven't gotten anything done yet because you're just.
I will bring the headphones.
I'm trying to channel my Stevie. Every day I'm trying to channel my Stevie.
It can be hard. we'll talk about this a little bit. I wanted you to finish what you were saying. Come back to the skate park.
Yeah, so yeah, you just you're back and you seem to love it and love being back involved with the scene and interacting with the customers, and like you said, you have
the best.
lot of just your. Like I said, I'm trying to channel my inner Stevie because you're just like, dude, thank you so much for coming here, and it's like I'm not like that, and I see how people react so positively to your extroversion.
Have I gotten any reviews yet?
No.
Damn it. Damn it.
I mean, what? I guess it's not hard to understand why you may have just come back to dip your toe in the waters, but like you came back and now you're here all the time. Like what hooked you? Why are you back in the BFS story?
It's like really. So the reason I first reappeared is I was with Nick Johns. Mm-hmm. We were at Strange Bird, and I was like, we had one beer, and I was like, this is weird. I love Strange Bird, but Nick, that's not where I go with Nick Johns. Nick Johns' bar is like probably Carol's or like Skylark or, not Strange Bird. Like we were around way too many like cool people.
Yeah, places like a Target commercial.
Yeah. Oh man, that's hilarious. I do love that place, but yeah, I was with one of my biker buddies. Like I don't know why I picked that place. Yeah. But so I, being a fat guy who has a low tolerance to alcohol, I was buzzed off my one Bird Light. And Nick looks at me. He's like, yes, you are. Nick looks at me and says, you want to go see Davey? You know how Nick is just the driest. Like, you're dry, but Nick is dry.
Yeah.
You want to go see Davey? And I was like, sure. And then I got here, and we wanted to go to Carnegie earlier.
Carnegie.
That's right. Carnegie and see Blaze. And I called. I was like, is Blaze there? And whoever it was like, he just left. I was like, fuck, thank you. And we went to Strange Bird instead. So when Nick suggested we go here, I was like, absolutely. And then we walk in, and there's Blaze, and there's you. And I hadn't seen you in probably a year, because I would come in about once a year.
Yeah, fix your flat tire once, and maybe one other thing one other time.
Yeah, I've seen you about once a year since you've had the park, give or take. And there's a couple times I've come in and like tried to talk to you, and I just didn't get anywhere. I was like, all right, that's fine. Like, that's fine. It's fine. I get along. Like, I usually get it out of almost anyone where I'm in a situation where a conversation isn't forced. So coming here, I was like, God damn, like I want, like, because I usually don't get a challenge. I like a challenge socially. Mm-hmm. I do. Like getting to know you this, like I've only been around for like 3 months and a week. That's crazy. I went to Cleveland with Ben, Connor, and Ryan. Like, that's nuts. But Nick wanted to come here, and in we walked, and you gave me a blue light iced tea, and then another drink, and I got relatively drunk, and I was like, Blaze, can I please hop on your bike? Do not ride your bicycle at the skate park on beers. But that happened. I did it very quickly. And I did a ghost feeble in the half pipe, and I never had the balls to do that. And I was like, that's it. I'm back. And that was it.
I'm back, baby.
That is all it took.
One trick.
Because I was so scared always, and I'm more scared now because I have work to do. Like, I work for myself and with my dad. Like, there's no, like, if I do anything, I'm not going to say any of it. But if I hurt myself, I don't know what to do. I have to go work a counter somewhere where I get paid or something. Like, I don't, it's terrifying, but I'm 24. I have no kids.
You would do excellent in a sales job anywhere.
Thank you. That's what I do.
I
just
know.
do this. Oh, thank you. I'm an idiot. I do the sales and then I do the work, and I love seeing it through. So, but I came back after that day. And I think I came and rode like 2 or 3 times, and then I was like, "Can I come help you next week?" And you were like, "Sure." and that was it. I did it, and like as extroverted as I am, I still like when you're behind a counter for a first day, you're like I don't know. And for me, like I got over that so quick. Like taking the phone calls is so easy. And I just like, I love like talking to people. So, and I think you love it when you love it, but dude, you're here, you almost clocked 90 hours last week. Like,
Yeah.
Like, and this isn't everyone, but like when someone says, "See you, Dave," and you look at them and then look back straight at the wall in front of you, no one, which you don't do all the time, but that does not hurt coming from Dave. Like if I did that, that would be like, what happened? But when people know you, and I think even the people that don't know you well get you enough, and they've never seen you not here unless they were here one of the times you went to do whatever. Like, so. And I love the balance of it. And like, I love watching, I love when you do like your thing when kids try and talk to you and you talk to them just like completely clear and like, well, why is that? And you're like, because no one does that to them. And
or the kids come up and they're like, Gatorade. And I'm like, what about Gatorade?
that's very teacher-esque.
And they're like, what? You mean, can I have a Gatorade, please? Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah.
all I want is for the kids to turn around and ask one of us for help. None of them will do it, other than people that really know us, like Austin or, you know,
what do you mean?
Megalodon. Like if we're not at the counter, they stand there awkwardly waiting for us to engage with them.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's why I wait. Because the kids need to learn to be a little assertive. I wait to be like, hey, can I get something? Oh yeah, of course.
Dude, I want you to get to your questions, but I love
I have no
Tyler.
questions.
And okay, that's fine. We're just gonna talk. That's cool. I love Tyler and I love Austin, and like it's just so sick being back, man. It took that one night. Like I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't gonna come here. I wasn't like, I need to get back into BMX. That's what I'm going to buy a mountain bike. Like it just happened.
So you were a kid, essentially, at the RASP days. And then
absolutely
now you're kind of an adult, right? Would you say you're an adult?
Yeah, I mean, technically.
How old are you, 24?
24 years old. I turned 25 in like a week and a half.
You're almost an adult. Your prefrontal cortex is still developing, but you're almost done.
Yeah.
What is different now? Right? You grew up at the skate. It's fair to say you grew up at RASP. You were here all the time.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Now you're an adult. You have a job. You work with your dad. You kind of have your own business, kind of, sort of. You have a music career, sort of, whatever. So now you're at the skate park every day again. And obviously, your perception is going to be very, very different. So my question is, what is it? Like, what are you noticing now? Like, what are these things you're like, man, I never realized it. No, I never, like, paint me the picture. Paint me the picture of all the things you're seeing now that when you were a kid at the skate park, you just hadn't a clue.
Like happening at the skate park.
In general, yeah.
Okay.
Here, you know, like whether, yeah.
Man, I mean, well, I'm certainly aware of money now. Obviously, that's the basic one. Things cost money. It sucks, blah, blah, blah. There's that conversation. I have a girlfriend. I've been with her almost 4 years. I love her. She's awesome. She's perfect. She's taught me so much about music. And, like, I was a child when I was 21. Like, that's when we met. And she has helped me develop, like, just so many, like my self-awareness, dude. I didn't have that, like, 3.5 years ago. I still am pretty, like, I think I'm self-aware. I don't know what he's doing. But she'd, like, I could talk about that for a while, but I want to cover other stuff. But, so that changed, and that's awesome.
Well, I mean more relative to the skate park.
Yeah. Okay, well, uh-oh.
You can show up at the skate park and go, oh, dude, my girlfriend's sick.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Going to the skate park made me realize my girlfriend's awesome.
Okay, going to the skate park, man, it's like I didn't realize how good it was for you. It's just something I wanted to do. And then, like, you know, in the winter, like I don't go through a real dark seasonal depression, but I do get low. Like when winter hits, and because I don't snowboard or anything, I would like to next year, but when winter hits and I don't work and I don't want to make music. My studio's freezing cold, and I have to turn the heater on and then turn it off, and then it's cold again. Like
That's like this studio.
yeah, it sucks. And right when winter hit in mid-January is when I showed up here, and I seeing kids be kids. A lot of people my age and people that are older that don't have kids, they're awkward around kids because they're just like, I don't know how to interact with them because I haven't been around them since I was one. Because I'm an only child, so I don't have like any nieces or nephews. I have cousins and like little cousins, but I don't see them very often and their family. So seeing the kids just like be stoked, dude. Like there's some kid here the other day with his mom and 3 of his friends, and he learned a backflip. He asked me and Mark, he's like, do you guys scooter? And I was like, no, but what's up? He's like, I want to learn how to backflip. I was like, I don't know how to backflip, but I can help you. And because I understand the mechanics of it. And me and Mark go over there, and dude, Mark is so good. He's so good with people, but with the kids, like he's gifted. It's awesome. And the kid does a backflip into the foam pit, and all he did was over-rotate it like 15%. And me and Mark pretty much said in unison, like, dude, what do you need from us? Just do it. And the kid's mom was on, like, up there on the deck, and his friends were, like, screaming. And Mark and me are both like, dude, take it to the resi. Like, just rotate a little bit less. And he did the first one, and he got the whole flip around, and he slid out. But he was fine. And then he did it again, and he took his foot off, but he landed it. And then he did it, like, 2 or 3 more times. And just, like, the energy of that. Like, I loved it when I was 11 and 12 and 13, and really from 7
when
until
you were
16.
backflipping.
Yeah, exactly. My Facebook is gone now, but I made a post in like 2012. I was like, I'm going to Woodward this summer, and I'm going to learn backflips into the foam pit. I promise. That didn't happen. But stuff like that, man, like there's still so much hope in the kids. Might not be all of them. I just said this earlier, but and then seeing the older guys, like people, you know, may have had a really unhealthy group of outlets or outlet, and then they come here and they make this their thing. And like the community, I didn't know almost any of these. I didn't know any of the new guys 3.5 months ago, and now I do. Now I'm going to Killington and or Thunder Mountain, hopefully more than once or twice this summer, spring and summer, with, you know, Ben and them. Like there's so much good energy here that like you don't find at a bar. Like there's community, but this is like, this is a hub. Like this is the town square for a lot of kids. And it might not be when it gets really nice out, especially when the real nice weather hits early, but in the winter and just when it's popping, like it rules. Like I'm going to go here. I know I'm going to see Austin. I'm going to see Jack. I'm going to see Good. Like it's so sick. And almost all of us, even if we're not friends, like we're all cool. And that's the dopest thing. And people my age and like kids now have such a hard time connecting. But like if you see someone land like a bar spin or on a scooter, they bri flip, like you let out the yo, like it's it's there. And growing up in that like gave me what I have. Like I probably was gonna be all right on stage anyway, but BMX helped. Having the big guys and the pros treat me that well, like that was huge. So
yeah, I would say that the skate park is really one of the areas where I think you truly get something that approximates a somewhat clear image of inclusivity and diversity.
Absolutely.
There's all these other domains where people are trying to force that. And when you force that, inevitably you get the opposite outcome. And there are so many places that claim some version of inclusivity which are not particularly inclusive or just are a little bit less inclusive than they think. But at the skate park, nobody cares. Like any of the immutable characteristics nobody cares. Like the golden rule at BFS is don't be a dick. If you come here and you're not being a dick, like you're cool. You're going to be friends with everyone. We're all going to get along. It's going to be awesome. And that might not be entirely true at other places because the cultures in different skate parks and different geographic locations does divide out differently. But here, no one cares, you know?
And it's been that way for a long time.
And it does bother me that there are a lot of people in skateboarding. This is mostly in skateboarding. They are pushing for like a version of diversity and inclusivity that is like this particular definition of it. And it is true that there are certain demographics in skateboarding and action sports that are disproportionately representative, like males. This is, for better or for worse, action sports are a masculine thing. That's not good or bad. It's just when it's you and your device essentially alone balancing risk and fear, and you have to overcome it. That's a pretty masculine thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Dude, the girl skaters are nuts though. Like I've seen a few, because like now my algorithm's changing. It's like outdoorsy stuff.
Yeah.
Like instead of just total brain rot. And there are more women doing like all of this stuff. And I think that's so sick. Like mountain biking especially.
Yeah, I'm not arguing against it or saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying
it's cool to see that change in my lifetime.
Despite going to a skate park and trying to take a head count on like age, race, gender, ethnicity, like instead of doing that, just look at like the attitudes and like skate park culture is super inclusive. If you come in and you're not a dick, you're cool. Like it doesn't matter who you are.
It is that simple.
Like no one cares. Like it is really, really gender and race neutral. Like people don't care.
Yeah. They're just happy to see other people happy to be doing what's the phrase you use for some action sport?
Progression-oriented sports is the term I like, but I just call them action sports.
But yeah, I like that phrase though, because you're dropping in and falling down. You're dropping in and falling down.
Yes, and as long as you're doing that, it doesn't matter who you are or where you came from or what you look like. If you're at the skate park on a regular basis and you're seeing them and they're seeing you and you're doing your thing and you're breaking a sweat and like you're getting it and I'm getting it, like as long as we're both getting it, there's a shred bond there that I don't care what the deal is. I don't care at all what the deal is. Like you're getting it, I'm getting it. Word up, slap the deck, give him a hoot. Woo, let's go.
That's Radio Dave right there, dude.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And that's not what I'm saying. Isn't relative to skill level either. Like I don't care if most people at skate park don't care if you're really good or like a beginner intermediate. It's about that dedication to the drive. It's about getting it, about doing it. Like that, a little kid dropping in for the first time is always way more exciting than, a good skater just landing another good trick.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, that goes viral constantly of like there's one video that like still circulating, and it's the kid he's trying to drop in, and there's like a group of kids just around him like, bro, you got this, like come on, like not being mean but like just yelling, and then you see the comments and it's like all types of people that never were surrounded by this and obviously people that were, and they're like, yo, this is the coolest thing ever. And skate parks rule. Like I might fix my car with Connor, and by that I mean I might be Connor's bitch while he fixes my car because he is a sick mechanical engineer. I'm not gonna find that at
the bar. Maybe
you
the
might,
bar.
but in this style of like social communication,
what you're saying, you get all walks of life at the bar. You could be a rich bratty kid or a dirt poor kid with nothing. Yeah, you get everything here.
We're here to do something fun that's real. I'm not knocking drinking. I was drinking earlier, obviously. But we're all here to do something fun that is also good for us in like 1,000 different ways.
Yeah.
And that also just completely changes. And people are sober. So, less other than those damn stoners. But so the energy of that is just so good. Like my dad said, because I talked about Riley maybe working with us a little bit this summer. He's like, skate park's probably a good place to find people that aren't afraid to work, like who can move and everything. And I'm like, I never even thought of that. And then,
I've always thought of that. I've argued that point over and over again. You take one kid who skateboarded and one kid who didn't, and then they're 18 and a half. They got out of high school. It's their first summer, and they got to get a job. And one kid has skated and took the slams and landed the tricks, and the other kid did nothing but Roblox or whatever dumb video games you were talking about earlier. Which kid is going to be a better worker?
Skateboarder, obviously.
100%.
Yeah, and now like Ben is gonna join us. Like, dude, that's so like it might just be for a couple Saturdays or whatever, but that's so sick. And like, oh my God, I would like to do this again with you in the future. I'm not gonna say near future because you have some pretty sick guests lined up. But
I got some bangers lined up.
He has
Chase
some
Hawk.
bangers. Chase Hawk?
Maybe.
All right.
Jaden told me he can get me Chase Hawk.
Really?
Yeah.
You're just like Kevin.
Why is that?
And
Because you can't tell if I'm being serious or
no,
not?
I still can't. Like when you lock into your, like you do what Norm did without the smile. But anyway, that's what I'm like comedy. Like there's so much that we can yap about, and I want to in the future.
Yeah.
But let me not waste time saying that. Like one of my favorite parts of the skate park is, and you talked about this yesterday, and kind of just talked, or not yesterday, but with Tom, and just touched on it now. The different skill levels, like it doesn't matter, but it's part of the fun. Like Ben Tribb, like Ben is one of the best bike riders I've ever met. That dude flies through the air. Ironically, he's like, I'll never climb in a tree ever, which is hilarious to me. Me and Ryan are both like, you really? He's like, no, absolutely not. Like, yo, you're doing backflips 25, whatever, dude. But, I did that. I failed to do that 180 at Ray's, but Ben took the video and like, he's like, in the video, you can hear how stoked he is that I did that. Like, I am objectively eons, light years away from him, and I will never come close unless I like pull a Sam Kinison or something.
I don't know what that means.
Sam Kinison got a head injury, and that's what made him the way he is or was.
Who is that?
He's a comedian.
Okay.
He's been long gone. Damn it. Terrible deep cut.
All right.
But it's so sick. Like he's actually that stoked for people when they're doing stuff. Me like in that moment, and that's just so cool, and that community in that, like, oh dude, I haven't taken many bike trips. I've only ever gone to Cranks. So going to Ray's with them was like I was 14 again. Like that was nuts. I was in motion for like 5-6 hours. I know you've heard me say this dozens of times.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But I didn't know that was still there. Like something that I genuinely love my life. I love most of my lifestyle, all that stuff. But I was like bored before I came back to Skatepark. Mm-hmm. Cause like I make music and whatever, but everybody needs like a thing. You need a thing. And
I've been trying to find a thing.
I think you have enough things, dude. I think if there's anyone, I think like maybe Elon Musk and both you guys have enough things. If you want more things, be my guest, dude. But you have the sickest things. You can bike, skateboard, and scooter, and like you play disc golf, and you happen to have a skate park.
Happened, yeah.
And now you have a sick ass family. Like you got the things, dude. Maybe you could get into like.
Well, I own a house too. That's a thing.
That's a thing.
That's a whole thing, man. Oof.
That's why I want to do this again, because there's so much. But like,
Yeah.
you have, it's nuts, and you're still here, and like, this place was my like second home, and now it is again. That's crazy. And you like, I think no, I'm just gonna say this at first because I was just this loud, like I was relatively annoying. People liked me, but I was pretty annoying when I was 11 or 13. I was 13 years old when you came here because you came 12 years ago, right?
Correct.
Like, I remember when you first came here, and now knowing what you were going through when you first came here, like, of course you were like a little bit rougher and everything, and you had the, the stuff with the skate park and everything. But I remember being like, what's this guy's deal? And now it's like, I would deal with that deal forever to get this. Like, this is nuts. We're still here. And that is so sick to me. And that shit makes me emotional.
Part of that is also just the cultural difference. Being from Jersey is just very culturally
Hoagie
different
town?
than, no,
Hero?
subs.
I thought, all right, whatever.
Well, in South Jersey, they call them hoagies.
You're from Central Jersey, though.
Yeah. Yeah, in Jersey, everyone's a ball buster. Like, in Jersey, you don't, like, if you act like anything gets to you, good or bad, it's, like, seen as, like, a sign of weakness almost. So you're just kind of, like, you're just kind of callous in general. You give everyone a hard time. You swear a lot. There's a lot of ball busting. And then, I moved here, and, Cork, my roommate, it was just like, he's like, you're kind of a dick sometimes. And I was like, really? And I was like, well, in Jersey, like, if you get the clip, you land the trick, but you don't do it, like, really clean, no one claps. They're just like, so you're going to do that again, right? You're not going to take that, right?
Oh, that sucks.
And you're like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Even if you were going to take it, you're like, no, I'll do it again. I'll do it again.
Breaks something in you.
No, it sets a higher standard.
All right. That's fair.
So, and up here, people are just much nicer and a bit softer and more congratulatory and more. People are nicer here in general. I remember when I first moved here, I'm like, is this girl at Wegmans flirting with me? And then I realized, no,
she's just doing her job.
Generally, people up here are nicer than in New Jersey. People hold the door for you more frequently than Jersey. People, smile at you and are nice to you. Yeah. You go to Target or Wegmans. They have Wegmans in Jersey.
I take people's shopping carts when they're done if I'm walking by them.
Yeah. And I think this Rochester's trended away from that and more towards the Jersey in the last couple of years. But still, when I moved up here, I was like, oh, it's different, for sure.
Yeah, I've been a lot of places. And Rochester is one of the best. There's a slight chip on the shoulder vibe to a degree, but overall it's pretty cool. I think Rochester's great. I am a little, I don't want to go down a wormhole here, but it has been disheartening over the last couple of years where the crime has trended in the city and the cost of houses and apartments has damn near doubled from when I moved here. And the safety going down with that combo is insane.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. There isn't any obvious answer as to why that happened, and it is really disheartening. And I just don't know how many times the constituents here can keep voting for the same type of politicians while the trends are seemingly pretty obvious. I feel like eventually someone who's not so soft on crime would have to win. Otherwise, this is going to keep happening. But
I think it will.
We don't need to go down that.
My 2 cents is I think that will happen. But that's all I really have to say about it.
I'm hopeful. My original plan, believe it or not, was by the time I was 40, which is 2 years away now, I was going to transition away from the skate park and into local politics with my eyes set on being the mayor of Rochester.
What, dude? I was going to joke about that.
No, that really, my
Can
wife...
you make weed illegal again, dude? I'm so sick of weed culture. I'm so sick of it.
Well, what's going to happen is when
when
the skate park closes, I'm going one of two directions. It's like I'm either retreating into the woods and turning off my social media,
or you're Batman,
or it's like I'm going to get involved in local politics because I do love Rochester and I love the city. And I said I wasn't going to go down a wormhole, but I'm going to go down a wormhole here because this is so upsetting. I ride my bike everywhere in the city. I've been everywhere. And you get these politicians, and I've dealt with these politicians directly through the Rock City board. Mm-hmm. And all the politicians in the city, like not all of them, but like above 3/4 of them, they are all female or minority. And they all are touting exactly the lines you'd expect them to tout. It's about minority. It's about low income. It's about the blacks in the city. It's about the Hispanic. Like it's everything you'd expect, right? And then they get elected, and they seemingly don't do anything for the people that they claim that they were trying to help.
Yeah.
And then I'll be riding my bike down the El Camino trail, and it's like there's needles on the ground. There's people doing heroin. There's garbage. You go past the playground. There's broken glass everywhere. There's broken glass along the side of the curb, down the streets, down Ave A, B, C, D, E, and like it's terrible.
Yeah.
But you go over to Cobb's Hill, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But it makes perfect sense because
just section it off.
Because these politicians are using the poor, inner city people as basically political pawns because they know like the uppity white middle class voters care about those air quotes care about those issues. So they talk about those things, then they get elected, and then with their power, what they do with their position of power is they make sure that those constituents that voted them in get the paved streets and the nice pretty parks, and they don't end up doing anything for the people that they use as a political bargaining chip, which are the people who live on Lyle Ave or Ave D or whatever. And the thing is, the reality is those middle-aged white liberal Democrat women who voted this in, they're never going to go down Ave D. They're never going to go anywhere remotely near those part of the cities. So they're never going to see with their own eyes the fact that the city just completely neglects those parts of the city. It's so sad.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
And people just like put on their shiny armor and they're like, I did this. It's like, I don't know the answer, but like people need help. Like areas need help. And it's just like, it's brutal. And we're just, oh no, we're going to do this. Like this is so
the problem is cultural, and you have to find a way to get people to really to care about their neighborhoods and their neighbors and the people on their street and their neighborhood. Because the problem is so many of the low income people living in that below that poverty line in the city, you need to have a route in which they can become homeowners. Because if they own their home, they'll have pride in their house. They'll want to fix their house. But if they're just stuck renting from these people that own all these properties, they're all slumlords.
Dude.
They have zero incentive to give a shit about the house. The barometer for the neighborhood is the roofs. If you're going down a street, look at the quality of the roofs. If every roof in the house is completely fucked and needs to be replaced, you're in a horrible neighborhood and no one cares. Yeah. That's the thing. And then you have to find a route where you disincentivize these companies and people from owning all these properties and being slumlords, and incentivize or offer tax breaks or something to help these people own these homes they live in, and then you'll see neighborhoods start to flourish. And like the community centers, I think that our centers are doing a pretty decent job engaging with the kids, but again, it's cultural. You could put a farmer's market on Ave D, and I don't think it's going to do well because culturally, those people don't care about a farmer's market. They're not worried. They have bigger fish, or I don't say bigger fish, but worse fish to fry.
Yeah.
But if you work in a community garden into these R centers, if you can get these kids,
dude, the one across from the public market is like, I think I don't know if it's huge, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, if you can get these kids to engage with their parents, or at least some adult kid connection, and hey, come down, we're going to weed some plants, we're going to grow these stuff, and then they can literally enjoy the fruits of their labor.
Yeah.
Like then you're literally planting a seed for the neighborhood. And there are things you can do. And I just hate seeing politicians use, because I was poor. I grew up in a fucking trap house. Like it's just sad when they use those people as political pawns and then never actually do anything for them. And then, you're not helping those neighborhoods that have the higher crime rates and the higher poverty rates are disproportionately affected when you put perverse incentives on police to not go after people breaking the law.
Yeah. It's all backwards.
The dirt bike stuff, the Kia stuff, like it's an issue, and it like there needs to be law and order, and you need to give people a path to property, because the free market is predicated on property rights. So you have to give these people a path to property ownership, I think, is really the answer.
Yeah.
So Dave for mayor, that'd be 2028. Skate parks.
Dave for mayor.
Every
Dude,
park.
do we have a little bit of time left?
We're going to make Rochester.
Dave Raffa. That's all I got. I'm not going to. I have to use the bathroom. I have to.
Okay.
Can you fill time or whatever?
You could. I mean, you could have done that while I was giving my spiel about being a mayor.
I wanted to listen to it.
Well, we've done a bunch of episodes, and this is the first time. Stevie PALo, he's got a tiny bladder. Yeah, first time a guest had to run and use the bathroom here. We are just about at the 2-hour mark here. So when Stevie gets back, we're going to do a couple rapid fire questions, and then we're going to wrap up this show. But for now, while I'm waiting for Stevie to drain his lizard, I'll do my normal show closing spiel here. So Breaking Free Skatepark is on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. We're on all the channels. We're also on Patreon. On Patreon, you can support the skate park and the podcast for as little as $5 a month and as much as $150 a month. And there are various perks for those tiers. You can find the link to the Patreon in the description of the video or the show notes if you're in the podcast world, or in the QR code in the intro video to the show. I've been currently busting my butt. I've been posting one video a day for over 100 days now, and our channel is having a lot of growth. It's really exciting. We've almost doubled the amount of followers I have, which is just really, really exciting. We're trying to grow the social media presence, the video content on Instagram and TikTok, to hopefully generate revenue for the skate park, just as we're using this podcast to hopefully build a following and get Patreon supporters who can make their monthly subscription donation of $5 or $10 or whatever, which will also help the skate park. Because frankly, in the post-COVID landscape, the skate park is not working. The numbers haven't gotten better. It's been pretty much flatlined at a below sustainable level for about 3 years now. So if I can't find some revenue source on top of what we've been doing, or if these sports don't rebound, it's going to be about one more year for the skate park before I have to close, because that's just how it is. So Stevie's back in the studio.
I am going to give you some money this summer, by the way.
Sure.
Wow, look at me announcing that like a politician. I will be the president.
Oh, yeah, you're going to be president?
If I feel like it in 9 years, I will.
All right, we're going to do our rapid fire questions, and we're going to be done.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Is there anything you want to say before we do our rapid fire questions?
Let's go.
All right. What is a bar?
A bar is a line in a rap song, typically. Period.
Just one line.
But a bar is a really good line. Something clever or hard-hitting, impressive.
Oh. Okay. Who is your favorite artist? Doesn't have to be a musician, but
right now, ask me another question, and we'll go back to that.
Okay. Kanye, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Get some help. What an influence! Everything changed because of Kanye, and this is all very sad. I could joke, we can all joke about it all we want. It is very sad because that is a hurting man, and his it's been beautiful for so long. So I'm gonna give a thumbs down to the behavior, but hope.
Okay.
For wellness.
Are the Suicide Boys good?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes. I don't listen to their music very much. They are good. They seem like exceptional people. They own all their stuff. And they're selling out stadiums.
Oh.
I think they're selling them out. They own.
What is their hip hop subgenre?
One day I'll get checked on this. I feel like it's almost what you'd consider hardcore hip hop.
Okay.
It's whatever that vibe is at shows, that's them or closer to that.
Okay. What is, in your opinion, or you could say if there's an objective answer, what is the worst version of hip hop or subgenre of hip hop?
See, this is a tough one because it's no, you know what? Whatever. There's a version of like brain rot rage where it is just drugged out nonsense that I feel because I was influenced it was my choice ultimately, but music influenced me to try things that maybe I shouldn't have when I was 16.
Mm-hmm.
And the new stuff is far more conducive to that. Not everything. I'm not talking about all of it. There are incredible rage artists out there, but there is a certain vibe of just lyrically that is like, I think it is hurting the youth.
Okay. Who would be your dream artist to open for? And why is it Kanye?
Who's my dream artist to open for? Well, it used to be Travis Scott. Now, I'm trying, like, what I've been listening to lately. You know what? This year I really wanted to open for 070 Shake, who was put on by Kanye years ago. She's fantastic, and I think you'd like her.
Okay. Never heard of her.
I don't have a big solid answer right now. Yo, Yeet.
Yeet?
I would want to open for Yeet right now, yeah.
Y-E-E-T?
Y-E-A-T.
Y-E-A-T,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh my God, I love Yeet so much.
What was your first BMX bike?
Ooh.
Like real one.
Brown.
Brown?
I went to Seneca Falls with my dad to buy this bike for $75, and I have no idea what any of the parts were. I was riding a flame bike with the pedal backwards brakes for my first year or so on BMX or biking.
And then you got a brown bike.
I got a brown bicycle.
You got
BMX
a small
bicycle.
brown bike.
Yes.
That's a band. Small brown bike.
Really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Do you have a favorite bar or line in a song, or at least one that comes to mind quickly?
I'm gonna try to properly remember the thing from your favorite rap song that I mentioned earlier. Can I read a few because it's just kind of a section?
Sure, you can spit some bars.
I'm not gonna spit them, but Michi Darko in your favorite rap song in 2016 said, "How dare these rappers overbite the man with the overbite, above par, above the bar. I'm over nice. God ain't even shoulder height. Pocket knife, clean slice. Grab that ammo P. I'm as cold as ice, a walking, talking poltergeist. It's fleas as Christ. I turn water to acid. I can straighten out the meanest dyke." That is crazy. Hearing that at 16 years old, walking by the nurse's office, the talk, like, dude was talking shit to God. Like, I don't think like that right now, but that was just the coolest thing ever. Like, cause every rapper's like, praise God. And he's like, God ain't even shoulder height, pocket knife, clean like, that's talking about murdering God. That's crazy. That's nuts.
I could see why that would affect you at the age of 16.
Yeah. That's metal as hell. Like, that's that.
I've been recently listening to this artist I used to be really obsessed with, Julian Baker. She's very sad, although her music isn't quite as sad. I don't listen to it anymore because I don't think it has the same affect it once had. But she was very poetic, and she had like one line in a song, and it was like, it's like my ribs creak like wooden dining room chairs. And it was like, oh, she had a lot of poetic stuff like that. It always struck me as That's good.
That is good.
Yeah. So back to the first or early question there. Favorite artist?
Yo, right now, it is, and this is like such a typical like rapper thing to say. My friend Bongus right now is my favorite.
Your boy is your favorite.
Right now,
Wow.
yes, I struggle so hard to find people that I want to work with that will work with me. And when I first heard him, I thought he was crazy, and then we made all this music, and like this is gonna come off a little egotistical, but like when I have done collaborations in the past couple years, other than with Avery, because she, like, every level of skill, she crushes me. But, like, a dude, like, finding a rapper that, like, I feel like he washed me on this project. Like, just, like, he's the star of the show, and I never really feel that competition. And, like, I'm so excited that, like, I do a song with my friend. I'm like, God damn it. Like, how can I live up to this? Like, that is so exciting when it's been not exclusively, but almost exclusively me, at least in putting music out for years now. Like, that, man, Bongus, BXNGUS, exclamation mark. He is so sick. He has, like, a metal oh, my God. He's nuts.
Good.
I can't wait for this project to come out.
I hope you guys are writing this stuff down.
What stuff down? You talking about
you've listed artists and songs and stuff to check out, so maybe some of the listeners can note this down.
Is anyone still here?
Raphael isn't. Remember Ralphie?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
He's in the chat. And Scott's in the chat.
Hell yeah.
Last question. And you may have already answered this earlier with that line when you were 16, but I'm looking for the most impactful artist or album that you came across. And this isn't saying what's the best, but like it was like
to me.
You know, your buddy Rob Hovey's in the chat.
Whoa. Yeah.
Yeah, like this, an album or an artist that someone showed you and you were just like just like a door open to a part of the universe you didn't know existed. Like
it was that record, the song on the record I influenced earlier, which is called, it's by the Flatbush Zombies. It's called 3001, A Laced Odyssey.
Okay.
That record changed my life and is probably the biggest reason why I make music.
Cool.
And got the nuts to do it. And that, like, still stands. Dropped in 2016. It's still strong.
For me, it was this band called The Number 12 Looks Like You. And it was pretty much just straight grindcore, which I managed to bring up grindcore twice in a podcast about hip hop.
That's pretty sick.
And The Number 12 Looks Like You sounds like pure chaos. They have two singers that both scream in like high-pitched screams. And it literally, I mean, I must have been 15, 16, and your whole world is like chaos at that point. And it was like someone sonically captured that. And I was like, oh my God, this is what I'm feeling. Just 12 people screaming at once. And none of their albums are quite the same as their first album. It's called Put On Your Rosy Red Glasses. And changed. I remember my buddy had like an early 90s Ford, not a Ford, it was a Mercury Sable. And the radio didn't work. So he had a little boom box on the floor.
Oh, that's so sick. My dad still does that.
He burned the CD, and we were driving around in this car listening to that. And it was like, I had no idea anything that chaotic existed. Yeah, it's awesome.
That's so sick.
Changed my life.
This place changed my life in the past 3 months.
Ralphie said, I remember one day Stevie and his pops gave me a ride home from the skate park when my ride bailed on me.
Whoa.
I remember there was times I drove him.
What's up, dude?
Him and Louis Two Coats or both of them home yeah.
How many coats does Louis have now?
A lot of coats and a lot of children.
Oh man.
Rob Hovey said, "What up, Stevie?"
What's up, dude? Did we get any before we go? Did we get any questions?
Nothing particular.
Okay. Understood.
I will say, I appreciate Louis Two Coats and Ralphie back in the day because if it was modern day, they would just be wheelie bike kids, and that shit's whack.
Oh man.
Not about the wheelie kids. He said
bikes.
a lot of children with 4 or 5 O's. I remember the last time I saw Louis, he came in and bought some parts. This is years ago. And he's like told me he had like 3 kids with like 3 different women. Oh. I was like, oh geez, dude, you gotta keep that under control, man. For a while he would sell his bike on Facebook, and then it looked like he was just buying car parts for a Civic, and then he'd come back in and then buy a bunch of bike parts. I'm building the bike back up. And then a couple months later, he would be like, I'm selling my bike on Facebook. I'm like, dude, it's like he's going through this cycle of sell your bike. Whatever.
Dude, just buy meme coins.
I hope he's doing well though, man. Every kid that's ever been at the skate park that and even speaking about that era we're talking about, that was Isaac who's been coming to the park.
Dude,
a lot. Like,
I grew up with Isaac and
Yeah.
Tanner.
Yeah, all those kids. It's so heartwarming that many of those kids are still around. It's great.
Well, dude, I've known Blaze since I was 5. We went to the same school for a short time.
Wow.
And him there's a lot of history, a lot of very good history. Yeah. The history's on my end with everybody here and ever has always been very good. I can't remember any real. Oh, never mind. One time, this fucking guy named Mike at Canandaigua Skatepark. He was a painter and he was hammered. And I said, "That's some dope music." And he said, "Fuck off." And I was like 13. I was heartbroken. I was like, I just said nice music. Like, and he was drinking a beer and smoking probably a Seneca Blue because he was white trash. And he looked at me and told me to fuck off. And that broke my heart. That's the worst, like truly the worst social experience I've ever had riding my bike. So that's pretty good.
All right, well.
So thank you, Dave. And thank you for running the park and giving us a place and giving me a sick job.
Kind of. It's not a job. You just hang out here.
Yeah,
I don't pay you.
Yeah,
in fact, you probably pay me. That's sick Danish today. And so I owe you for the ground beef. Too.
Get the heck out of here. You
All right,
owe me for the ground beef. All right. Thank you very much.
Do you any message for the viewers, the fans, the riders, the kids, the parents? Something you want to tell them?
Absolutely.
Go to Yeezy.com.
Don't go to Yeezy.com.
Mark's in the chat.
Mark? Prince?
Yeah, Prince.
What's up, dude? What my message? Listen to search up Stevie Xolo online and listen to me, follow me, watch people do tricks to my song. One day soon, Stevie will do a trick to his own song.
Okay.
But do stuff that sucks but is good. I'm working on that. Riding my bike, like going to work on days when I really don't feel like it, which is interesting. I really want to talk more about that in the future because like I can just tell someone, I can lie. My truck broke down. So, do stuff, get used to doing stuff that is hard but is good for you, and follow your dreams and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. But if you suck after like 11 years, you should probably find a different career.
I mean, this is what action sports teach you. You cannot come here and try to take the path of least resistance and get anywhere.
I mean, look at me. I've gotten nowhere.
Yeah.
With action sports.
Yeah.
I got 180s. But yeah, follow your dreams. Listen to my music. Do an action sport. Do an action sport. I wasn't like.
Do the thing.
I wasn't like, I wasn't dying when I came back here, but I like to think that it saved my life because I was like relatively socially bored, and I'm so excited every time I'm here. I go to the park. It's the best thing ever. Do an action sport. Love your friends.
One last question from the chat, and we're going to sign off. Rob Hovey said, "Did Stevie clear the box?"
Which box?
I don't know.
Yes.
Any box?
Yes.
Sure.
I cleared the box next to the resi, small one.
Okay.
And I cleared a lot of boxes at race.
Alrighty. Stevie, thank you for being here. We'll have
Thank
you
you.
on again. Sometimes you would be in the regular rotation.
Yes, dude.
Because I was thinking about doing monthly recap episodes where I just bring in you or Blaze or Kyle and we just kind of like a little more laid back feel. But you're around. I'm around. Anyone in the chat wants to be on. Prince, if you want to be on, hit me up. We can make it work.
Awesome.
I'll try not to cry so much. we had a whole thing last week. But
Fantastic.
But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. I told you all the stuff a couple minutes ago while Stevie was peeing about liking the channel and whatever.
Give the skate park your money, please. Dave gives everything to the skate park, and we want the skate park to stay around, please.
If you can't come here, just commenting on our content really, really helps. Like
Watching it all the way through.
when the way the algorithm works on social media is when it gets posted, the most if you can get a lot of comments very quickly right when you post it, you can trick the algorithm. There's actually people who kind of cheat the system. They get in these Facebook groups, these content creator Facebook groups, and they basically say, "Hey, I'm gonna basically say like, okay, there's 100 of us in this group, and we're all agreeing that when you tell me you're gonna post your thing, I'm gonna go and comment on it, and you're gonna do the same for me." So then they kind of hack the system by whenever one of you uploads a video to Instagram or whatever, they immediately get 100 comments or close to, and then that throws you way up in the algorithm. So anyone that really wants to help our content and doesn't want to give me $5 on Patreon or come here ride or doesn't have bike parts to buy or whatever, just when I post the video, just drop a comment. That helps a lot. So
Said and done.
Stevie, thank you for being here.
Thank you for
watching or listening. I'll see you guys at the skate park later. Keep grinding.